Fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you so that you may become righteous. That's Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 183 of the Quran. Right away, this verse establishes some incredibly heavy historical and spiritual weight. What's absolutely fascinating here is the acknowledgement that fasting, it isn't some brand new concept. I mean, for millennia, humans across basically all civilizations and eras have turned to fasting. But for Muslims, this specific verse anchors the practice as an ancient, unbroken, and universal tradition specifically designed to elevate the human spirit and build inner righteousness.
Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am super excited to unpack this topic with you today. We're going to explore a practice that literally shifts the daily rhythms, routines, and mindsets of over 1 billion people around the globe every single year. Just wrap your head around that scale for a second, a massive chunk of the world's population acting in total unison. We are diving deep into Sawm, the fourth pillar of Islam, which is the sacred practice of fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. So let's jump right in together and uncover the daily mechanics, the deep spiritual purpose, and the profound human significance behind this ancient pillar.
All right, Section 1, the meaning of Sawm. So at its very core, Sawm simply means fasting for the sake of Allah, taking place specifically during the holy month of Ramadan. But to truly get it, we really need to look past modern wellness trends, where fasting is often just a diet hack or a physical challenge. This is fundamentally an act of intense, deeply personal devotion. Think about what it actually takes to dedicate an entire month, 30 consecutive days, completely to faith. It requires deliberately stepping way outside the comfort of your normal everyday routine to make a sacred commitment. It's like hitting a dedicated pause button on regular life to just focus entirely on the spiritual.
Moving right along to Section 2, a day of fasting.
For a practicing Muslim, the mechanics of a fasting day demand a total mental shift. You go from living by the clock to living by the sun. The fast kicks off exactly at Fajr, that's dawn, before the first real light even breaks. Then you've got the entire fasting period spanning the full daylight hours, and it strictly concludes at Maghrib, the exact moment of sunset. It's this incredibly precise daily timeline governed entirely by the natural world. Waking up in the pitch black before dawn, that alters your whole mindset. You're grounding your day not in blaring alarms and work schedules, but in the natural rhythms of the earth itself. Now, to sustain that kind of rigorous schedule, the fasting day is bookended by two absolutely crucial meals. Well before the sun comes up, before that Fajr time, Muslims gather in the quiet early morning for a meal called sehri or suhoor. This is your major prep for the long, depleting day ahead. Then, fast forward to the very end of the day. As the sun dips below the horizon, the fast is finally broken with iftar. And traditionally, this meal starts out incredibly simply, with just dates and water. There's actually a brilliant intersection of ancient tradition and human physiology happening right there. After a long day of depletion, a date gives you this immediate, easily digestible burst of natural sugar, gently waking your digestive system back up before you move on to the rest of the meal. But what happens between those two meals? Well, that's where the real challenge is. It's kind of helpful to think of fasting like an iceberg. Above the surface, visible to everyone, you have the physical abstentions. 0 food, absolutely no water. But honestly, for a lot of people, the physical part becomes the easier part after a few days. The massive, unseen bulk of the iceberg underwater, that's the incredibly strict set of behavioral abstentions. While fasting, Muslims have to avoid bad words, negative actions, arguing, lying, and really any harmful behavior. Think about how tough that is. Holding back a sharp remark or swallowing your temper when you're deeply hungry, thirsty, and tired, that is the ultimate test. It's a total fast. Of the stomach, sure, but way more importantly, of the tongue and the ego. Let's transition over to Section 3, the deeper spiritual purpose. When you willingly give up food and water, hunger stops being this abstract concept you just read about. It becomes a very real, very physical teacher. This month-long exercise builds immense patience, incredible self-control, and real discipline. But more than that, the visceral reality of an empty stomach acts as a powerful lesson in empathy. It teaches genuine kindness toward poor and hungry people who, let's face it, don't have the luxury of knowing when their next meal is coming. By intentionally experiencing this lack, you cultivate an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the basic necessities we almost always take for granted. It profoundly connects the individual to the wider, universal human struggle. But here's the thing. Emptying the stomach is ultimately about making room for a much fuller spiritual life. Abstaining is really only half the equation.
During Ramadan, Muslims aim to draw closer to Allah by massively increasing acts of worship and community service. We're talking praying more, reading the Quran, and making dua, which is personal supplication. It's also a deeply outward-facing time. The focus shifts heavily to giving charity, helping others, and seeking forgiveness. And it's pretty amazing to consider the communal amplification of all this. Engaging in intense reflection and immense generosity right alongside millions of other people globally, it creates an unparalleled, shared human experience.
Which brings us to Section 4, who participates and who doesn't. Now, while the spiritual expectations are definitely sky high, the overarching philosophy of Islam when it comes to fasting is remarkably practical. Seriously, it's very pragmatic. The practice is meant to be spiritually elevating, right? Not a punishment, and definitely not physically destructive. So while healthy adult Muslims who are physically capable are fully expected to fast, a lot of people are entirely excused to protect their well-being. Sick individuals, travelers, the older, young kids, they don't fast. And crucially, pregnant or breastfeeding women are also excused if fasting would harm their health in any way. It's a system built with a deep, profound respect for human limitations and the preservation of life. Okay, final stretch. Section 5, Special Nights and Eid. As those 30 days of Ramadan march on, this incredible sense of anticipation builds toward one specific, absolutely monumental spiritual milestone. It's called Laylatul Qadr, or the Night of Power. This is considered the single holiest night of the year, commemorating the exact night the Quran was first revealed. And honestly, the magnitude of this night is hard to overstate. Many Muslims will literally stay awake the entire night in intense prayer, reflection, and connection, seeking the massive spiritual rewards and profound peace tied to this one powerful window of time. And then, as this strict discipline of the month finally comes to a close, the whole narrative resolves in this incredible sensory shift. From a month of quiet restraint and daytime fasting, you get a sudden, vibrant explosion of celebration called Eid al-Fitr. It is such a joyful day. It kicks off with special communal prayers and immense gratitude, and then it just flows right into massive family gatherings, daytime feasts, and, staying true to the spirit of the month, the giving of charity. It's this beautiful, culminating moment where the entire community comes together in the daylight to celebrate their renewed faith, their shared accomplishment, and just the pure joy of togetherness. So we've seen how Sawm is so much more than just skipping meals. It's this beautifully holistic practice that brings together physical restraint, intense behavioral improvement, radical empathy, and deep spiritual focus. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might practicing that kind of strict self-discipline and taking the time to cultivate such profound, visceral gratitude for an entire month, how might that actually change your own daily perspective? Thank you so much for exploring